I didn't cry the night my husband mocked our marriage in front of his friends. I didn't cry when he called it the biggest joke of his life, while they all laughed into their beer bottles. I waited until they left. I waited until the house was quiet, and then I sat at our kitchen table, and I filed for divorce. My name doesn't matter for this story. What matters is that I spent 11 years believing I was building something with a man who saw our marriage as material for a punchline. It started as a normal Friday night. His college friends came over, the way they did every few months, loud and nostalgic, drinking on our porch, telling old stories. I was refilling chip bowls and pretending I didn't notice the way the conversation had turned toward me before I walked outside. "Tell them about the wedding vows," one of his friends said, grinning. My husband laughed, that easy laugh he used when he wanted a room to like him. "Man, I don't even remember what I promised. Something about forever, right? Forever's a long time when the honeymoon's over in a month." They all laughed. I stood in the doorway holding a bowl of chips like it was suddenly the heaviest thing in the world. He kept going. He told them about our first fight, twisted into something funny, some joke about how wives always win, so why bother arguing? He told them marriage was basically a legal contract for free laundry service. He told them I used to cry during our engagement because I was so excited, and he made that sound pathetic too, like I was some naive girl who didn't know what she was signing up for. Every laugh cut a little deeper. I stood there in my own home, in the marriage I had poured myself into, and I watched him turn 11 years into a comedy routine for people who would forget the joke by morning. I didn't say anything. I went inside, I finished the dishes. I smiled when he walked past me later and said, "You're being quiet." I told him I was tired. He believed me because he always believed whatever was easiest for him, but something in me had already left the room hours before I did. I thought about all the small mockeries before that night, the ones I had trained myself not to notice. The way he introduced me at parties as the ball and chain. The way he rolled his eyes when I talked about our anniversary plans, like caring about our marriage was something embarrassing. The way, when I told him I felt disrespected, he'd laugh and say, "Relax, it's just a joke. Don't be so sensitive." I had spent years shrinking myself so his jokes would have less to land on. That night, after everyone left and the porch light was the only thing still on, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and I searched divorce attorneys in my city. Not because of one bad night, but because that one bad night finally let me see all the nights before it clearly. I didn't wake him up to fight. I didn't leave a note. I just sat there in the silence, typing an email to a lawyer, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Not sadness, but relief. The kind of relief you feel when you finally stop holding your breath. The next morning, I made coffee like it was any other day. He came downstairs hungover and cheerful, still riding the high of a night that had cost me more than he understood. I handed him his coffee. I told him I had something to tell him. And I told him I was filing for divorce. He laughed. Of course he laughed. He thought it was a joke, the way he thought everything about our marriage was a joke. "Come on," he said. "You're not seriously mad about last night." I told him I wasn't mad. I told him I was done. I told him that a marriage he treated like a punchline for 11 years wasn't a marriage I wanted to keep defending, especially not to him. He stopped laughing. For the first time in a long time, I watched him actually look at me, like he was seeing something he'd never bothered to look for before. The weeks that followed were not easy. There were apologies, there were promises, there was even a version of him I hadn't seen in years, quiet and afraid and finally sorry. But I had learned something that Friday night on my own porch, that respect isn't something you beg for after it's already been laughed away in front of a room full of people. I filed the papers. I moved forward. And slowly I found the version of myself that had been quietly disappearing under the weight of every joke I was supposed to laugh along with. People ask me sometimes if I regret not giving him one more chance. I tell them the truth. He had 11 years of chances. I just finally stopped mistaking his mockery for love.